there's a place, a stretch of about 100 kilometers. It's called the Sharon Valley. That's where they plant most of the oranges and citrus fruit. And during the month of February, especially after a rain, and if there's a nice warm wind blowing, the place smell just magic from the blossom. These smells normally last until the end of the pollination period, you know. It's a smell that you cannot capture. You cannot make a perfume from it. You cannot. You can only hold it in your memory. Around end of 78, I arrived to Dublin. I must say Ireland was way behind many other European cities to start with. Very undeveloped. The bus system or the transport system was so backwards that at some point I did consider walking rather than use the bloody bus. The only time you can actually see foreigners is if you want to go to make a phone call. You had to go and queue up in the GPO, only to see people who used to study in the Royal College of Surgeons. They come from very, very wealthy families in the Gulf states and Saudi Arabia and so on and so forth. At the time, you had to pay £5, and you stand in the queue in order to earn the right to make a phone call for 3 minutes to Israel, for example. Furthermore, if you want to talk about food, that was a bit of a challenge. There was one hippie, I remember he had a shop not too far from O'Connell Street, actually, and he had Middle Eastern food items, which was a kind of a gift to the soul, if you like, you know, because it actually remind you of the food you used to. For example, if you want to buy tahini, you had to bring your own jar from home, and he have a bucket of 40 liters or something like that, or 50 liters, and used to, with the ladle, he used to measure the amount of how much you're going to get. And it's pretty expensive, but at least it was available. Other than that, if you go to a normal shop, if you ask for tahini, people didn't know what you want. Second thing, I know the American call it sesame butter. It was nothing to do with butter at all. People used to laugh at me. No, sorry, we only have Kerrygold butter, you know. So that's can give you an idea of where we were, you know. I remember while I was waiting for a job, in actual fact, I made a contact with my broken English to Kinsili Research Station, which were dealing at the time with research and growing vegetables that not commonly grown here. I made an appointment with some professor for horticulture, funny enough, and he actually reminded me of somebody in a kibbutz. Although it wasn't a very nice day, he was wearing shorts and sandals like a really earthy kind of a guy, you know. And he showed me the most fabulous onion fields. Those days, all the onions used to come not even from Spain, used to come from Egypt, funny enough. And I could not believe how big they were and how healthy they were. When you go to the supermarket now and you see a gala melon, people take it for granted. They think it's just the name of a girl. In actual fact, it isn't. It is a breed of a melon that was invented in Israel. And so are many other fruit and vegetables that invent. I'm not saying they were modified, but they were fruit that for example, the country that they import them had a certain expectation for what they want. For example, gala melon, the reason they go for that is because it's never more than a kilo. It's round, it's beautiful, and it's very interesting looking. And later on in life here in Ireland, you notice that a very unusual thing is also popular, but that was the demand of the Germans at that time. No, also celery. Celery was not very common in use in Israel, and it was some methods of harvesting, because the company who export them, literally you picked it in 6 o'clock in the morning, in 12 o'clock at night it's in Europe with the jumbo jet. The flowers is a difficult one. I'll tell you why. Because a lot of the flowers in Israel are imported from Europe and from the Far East, because the climate is very much alike, from the Americas, of course. You got to remember, the only flowers we had are native flowers. The land they grow wild, and they managed to commercialize some of them. Yet they're not. You cannot say, "Oh, that's a genuine." To most of the flowers that you see, you cannot say that's genuine native to Israel. So that's just part of how should I say, living in a world where there's an exchange of everything, really.